Hello and welcome to the Mobile Youth Show. You're listening to Graham Brown. Today, I'm as ever joined by my colleague Freddie Benjamin. Freddie, how are you doing?
Doing well, Graham. What about yourself?
I'm doing great, Freddie. Now, let's talk about social networking. Everybody knows Facebook, and you could be forgiven for thinking, Freddie, that Facebook's the only game in town, right?
Right.
But let's take a look at the whole social networking space and break it down because it's not just Facebook. There are lots of other players. And I think what people really want to know is some sort of mental map of how all these networks and media fit together. So maybe we can talk about the other players that we should pay attention, particularly the ones which are making waves in the youth market. What do you know?
Definitely, Graham. I guess right now, the one social network that's really catching up among young people, especially young teenagers, is Instagram.
Hmm.
Um, Now it's very interesting the way they use Instagram. A lot of the accounts are, private, as in they're not really sharing everything with the world, so to speak, in the way
Hmm.
they share everything on Facebook with everyone. Um, and what they're really doing with Instagram is creating these, small, very controlled, private social networks of, their very trusted, close friends, the best friends, with whom they share, well, everything, like from what they're eating, how they feel, very emotional content, as compared to Facebook, where they're sharing very well functional content, kind of like what video they found funny today, that kind of stuff.
Hmm. So the difference really is that Instagram is private, it's discreet in a way, and Facebook's a lot more open. Now, why is that the case? Why is it, for example, that young people are using Instagram, but they're also using Facebook as well? Surely they would
hmm
just choose the one.
hmm Definitely. I guess like to really understand like this, the popularity of private social networks among young people, we need to first rethink the word sharing and how we use it when talking about social media. Even
Right.
before there was social media, we used to share. Sharing was an intimate act between two or more people who trust each other. People used to share secrets, share their vulnerabilities, and this would help people grow relationships. Parents taught their children to share toys with other kids. It's a universal way of making new friends. And now, if
Right.
you think about the kind of updates people post on Facebook, those are less emotional, and what they're really doing is they're broadcasting, but not really sharing. I guess a good way to kind of think about this is, if a person were to write their biography, they would put in their
Mm,
achievements, right? How they overcame
mm,
obstacles and beat all the odds, and even offer advice to the reader. That's meant for everyone. But if the same person were to write in his or her journal, it would be filled with their insecurities, their innermost fears, moments that are too painful to share. So posting on
right.
Facebook is sort of like writing a biography. But what people also need is this safe, closed space where they can share their insecurities and fears, and their desires and dreams, no matter how well outlandish they may be.
Yeah. So I was just going to say. What you're basically saying is there's a need for both spaces. It's not like we need one or the other, or one is better than the other. We have a public, open, functional persona
Exactly.
which is now shared by parents and potential employees
Yeah.
and teachers
Yeah.
of all people. And there's a very private, discreet space, which is where the young people go for Instagram, and they share a lot more of their passions and intimate feelings.
Yeah.
So I guess is it just Instagram? What else is in this space?
No, actually, Instagram is a new one, but young people have been doing this for quite a long time. About 5 years ago, they discovered BBM on BlackBerry. Now, BBM
Right.
had this feature which allowed you to create private groups. So you could invite, any number of friends. Usually it was between 2 to 5 friends, and then they were exchanging up to 100 messages a day. And these groups were, they could be something like just a homework doing group, or the really three close friends who were planning what to do, on Friday nights. And the messages that they were sharing were really personal. And if one of the people in the network shared the message with someone outside the circle, then people would get well, angry, upset about it. It was a
Mm,
very emotional social network, so to speak.
mm. Okay, so BBM was in that space. We've got Instagram. What about Path? Because I hear a lot of people talking about Path now, Freddie. First of all, explain to us what Path is, and then maybe you can tell us a little bit about where it fits into this space.
Definitely. Path is a relatively new private social network that basically promotes itself as a private social network and encourages people to invite only their closest friends. And it's got these features which are very unique. So while you can definitely post updates and share images, what it also allows people to do is kind of like, automatically post updates about when they're sleeping, when they woke up, when they're eating. So really mundane things that they do in their lives.
Mm,
So it is almost like a journal rather than, kind of like a Facebook or a LinkedIn where you kind of like display your, uh, well, achievements. Um, and the interesting thing about Path is that one of its most popular features is the one that allows people to tell everyone in the network that they are sleeping. Now, if you think about it, you would not post good night on Facebook or Twitter, but
mm.
you'd say that to your parents, your siblings, your best friends, your spouse, people in the house, and not to the rest of the world. And that's kind of like the space that Path wants to, I guess, create a niche in. And it's been really popular since its launch. Um, I'm not sure about the exact numbers right now, but um, the the app, the last time it released its numbers were at the end of 2011 when it had more than 2 million registered users. Since then,
Mm.
it has obviously added more features and it might have grown, but it's very difficult to say what its exact size is. And the people who are kind of like using it right now, actively using it right now, are more of the early adopters. So it's still in that very early stage. It's still to break into the mainstream market.
Okay, it's very much this passive communication that we talked about in yesterday's episode, which is, you're not necessarily communicating the very functional stuff, which is the obvious stuff, but you may be communicating the inferred meaning in that relationship. So, you might not necessarily be growing a relationship, you might just be maintaining it. I mean, telling somebody good night is not necessarily going to win you any friends, but it may just maintain that relationship. And it's very much a passive form of communicating with people, right? And that's quite key to this age group.
Exactly. That's very true. I guess sort of like in summary, really, like talking about open and discrete networks, between Facebook and BBM and PAT. Um, it's really about people having control over what they say and who do they say it to. They need both open and discrete networks, and they want tools that help them control how they communicate with, well, the different social circles in their life.
Okay, that's very interesting. You heard it here first. That was Freddie Benjamin, and you've been listening to the Mobile You Show with Graham Brown.